The day my family called me selfish, I had $42 in my bank account, and they were sitting on money that was supposed to be mine. I didn't know that part yet. At that moment, all I knew was that my mother was crying on the phone, my older brother was calling me cold, and my aunt had sent me a message that said, "Some people forget where they came from." I stared at that message in the break room at work with my lunch still unopened in front of me. I was 29, renting a small one-bedroom apartment, working two jobs, and still somehow known in my family as the one who always had money. That was the part that hurt the most. I didn't have money. I just never said no. For years, I helped with everything: utility bills, car repairs, school fees for my younger cousin, groceries when my mom said the month had been tight. I paid for my brother's phone after he broke it. I covered my sister's rent deposit when she moved out after a fight with her roommate. Nobody ever asked how I was doing. They just asked if I could send it by Friday. And I always did. Not because I was rich, not because it was easy, but because I grew up being told family helped family. If someone needed something, you showed up. So I showed up until I had almost nothing left. The first time I noticed something was off was 2 months before everything fell apart. My mom called me on a Tuesday night. Her voice was soft in that way it got when she wanted something but didn't want to ask directly. She said my brother Mark was in trouble. He had missed some payments on his house, not one, not two, enough that the bank had started sending serious letters. I felt my stomach drop because Mark had a wife, two kids, and a nice house he always bragged about at family dinners. I asked how much he needed. My mom went quiet. Then she said, "Around 8,000. I almost laughed, but nothing about it was funny. I told her I didn't have that kind of money. She said, "Maybe not all at once. Maybe you can take out a loan." That was the first moment I felt something shift inside me. A loan for my brother's house. While I was eating instant noodles 3 nights a week and ignoring my dentist because I couldn't afford the appointment, I told her no, not angrily, not rudely, just no. There was a long pause, then she said, "I thought you would at least care." That sentence stayed with me all night. And the strange thing was, that was only the beginning. The next day, Mark called me during my lunch break. He didn't start with hello. He said, "So mom told me you're refusing to help." Refusing. That word made it sound like I had a stack of cash under my bed, and I was guarding it from hungry children. I told him I couldn't help because I didn't have it. He scoffed and said, "You live alone. You don't have kids. What do you even spend money on?" I remember looking around my tiny apartment later that night, the thrift store couch, the cracked kitchen tile, the laundry basket I kept meaning to replace, and I wondered how my own family had built a version of me in their heads that didn't match my life at all. Then my sister, Erin, joined in. She texted me, "You know everyone helped you when you were younger." That confused me, because no, they hadn't. When I moved out at 21, I worked overnight shifts and paid for everything myself. When my car died, I took buses for 5 months. When I got sick and missed work, I paid my rent late and took the fee. I wasn't angry that nobody helped me. I had accepted it. But being told I owed them for help I never received made something inside me go cold. Still, I tried to stay calm. I asked Mark if he had spoken to the bank about options. He said he had. I asked if he had cut any expenses. He said that wasn't the point. I asked if he could sell his second car. That's when he snapped. He said, "So you want my kids to suffer because you're bitter?" I ended the call. For the first time in my life, I didn't apologize. But after that, the pressure got worse. My mother stopped calling me normally. Every conversation turned into Mark's house. My aunt posted vague things online about selfish children and broken families. My cousin stopped replying to my messages. At family dinner that Sunday, I almost didn't go. But my mom asked me to come, saying everyone was stressed and we needed to talk like adults. So I went. And I wish I had listened to the sick feeling in my chest. The second I walked in, the room went quiet. Mark was at the dining table with his arms crossed. Erin was sitting beside him. My mom wouldn't look at me. Dinner wasn't even ready. This wasn't a dinner. It was a meeting. My mom started crying before anyone said anything. She said, I don't understand how one of my children can watch another child lose his home and do nothing. I said, I'm not doing nothing. I just don't have $8,000. Mark leaned forward and said, you have good credit. You could get it. I looked at him and said, then you can get it. His face changed. He said, mine is messed up because I actually have responsibilities. That was the first emotional hit that broke through all the guilt. Because I had responsibilities too. They just didn't count because they were mine. Rent counted, food counted, medical bills counted, my future counted. But to them, I was just an emergency fund with a bedroom. Then my aunt said something that made the room feel smaller. She said, your father would be ashamed of this. My father had died when I was 17, and my family rarely brought him up unless they needed to make a point. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. I told them I was leaving. My mom cried harder. Mark called me selfish. Aaron said I was making this about me. And as I walked out, my nephew ran into the hallway and asked if his family had to move because of me. That was the moment I almost turned around. That was the moment they almost got me. Because nothing cuts deeper than a child repeating words he clearly heard from adults. I drove home shaking. I sat in my car outside my apartment for almost an hour. I kept asking myself if I was wrong. Maybe I should take the loan. Maybe being broke for years was better than being hated by my family. Maybe I could work more hours. Maybe I could figure it out. Then something happened that changed the entire direction of the story. My mom sent me a photo by accident. It was meant for Aaron. The message under it said, don't tell her about this yet. She'll use it as an excuse not to help. The photo was a bank letter. I zoomed in before she deleted it. It showed a deposit. Not small. $38,000. My hands went numb. I stared at the screen, waiting for my brain to catch up. My mother deleted the message a minute later. Then she sent, sorry, wrong person. I didn't reply. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about the words. Don't tell her. This, yet. She'll use it as an excuse not to help. The next morning, I called Erin. She didn't answer. I called my mom. She didn't answer either. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my father's younger brother, Uncle Ray. He wasn't close to my mom's side of the family. After my dad died, things got tense and he stopped coming around much. But he had always been kind to me. I asked him if he knew anything about a large deposit my mom recently got. He went quiet. Then he said, did she finally give you your share? My mouth went dry. I asked, what share? And there it was. The one thing they had hidden from me. When my father died, there had been a life insurance payout. Most of it went to my mother, which made sense because I was still a minor. But there was also a separate amount set aside for me. Not a huge fortune, but enough to help me start adult life without drowning. My father had named me directly. Uncle Ray said he thought my mom had given it to me when I turned 21. She hadn't. I asked how much. He said around $32,000 plus whatever had grown from sitting in the account. I felt like the floor disappeared under me. For years I had struggled. For years I had worked double shifts. For years I had helped them with bills. And the entire time they had access to money that was meant for me. Money they never mentioned. Money they let me live without. I asked Uncle Ray how he knew. He said my father had talked to him before setting things up. He wanted me to have something safe. Something nobody could touch without explaining it later. But apparently someone had explained it away. That afternoon, I went to my mother's house without warning. Her car was there. Aaron's car was there too. When my mom opened the door, her face went pale. I held up my phone and said, what was the deposit? She looked over her shoulder. Aaron appeared behind her. Neither of them said anything. I walked inside and asked again. My mom started with, you don't understand. That sentence told me everything. I said, then explain it. She sat at the kitchen table and rubbed her hands together like she was cold. Then she said after my father died, things were hard. Bills piled up. She was grieving. Mark needed help. Aaron needed help. The house needed repairs. She said she used some of the money over the years. I asked how much was left. She didn't answer. Aaron whispered, Mom, I turned to her and said, "You knew?" Erin looked down. That hurt almost more than my mother's silence, because Erin had been the one texting me about what I owed them. She knew. Mark walked in 20 minutes later after my mom called him. And when he realized I knew about the money, he didn't even look ashamed. He said, "It was family money." I said, "It had my name on it." He said, "You were a kid." I said, "I'm not a kid now." Then I asked if the $38,000 deposit was from the same account. My mom finally admitted it. The account had been closed. The remaining money had been moved because Mark needed help fast. I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. They weren't asking me for $8,000 because they had nothing. They were asking me because they didn't want to use the money they had already taken from me. That was the full reveal. All the guilt, all the crying, all the accusations, all the family pressure. It wasn't because I was selfish. It was because they had hidden the one thing that would make their story fall apart. I didn't yell. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just sat there, feeling empty in a way I had never felt before. My mother cried again and said she did what she had to do. Mark said I was being dramatic. Erin said nobody wanted to hurt me. And I looked at all three of them and realized they still thought the worst part was that I found out. Not what they did. I left without saying much, but I didn't let it disappear. The next week, I spoke to a lawyer. I gathered messages, bank screenshots, and everything Uncle Ray remembered. I didn't know what could be done after so many years, but I needed someone outside the family to look at it. Once they received the letter, everything changed. Mark stopped calling me selfish. My mom started sending long messages about how she made mistakes. Erin said she felt terrible, but didn't know how to tell me. My aunt suddenly deleted her posts. Nobody wanted family drama anymore. Funny how quickly people want peace once consequences arrive. In the end, I didn't get everything back. Some of the money was gone and had been gone for years. But I did get a settlement from what remained, and Mark had to figure out his house without using my future as his backup plan. My relationship with my family changed permanently. I stopped answering every call. I stopped sending money. I stopped explaining my number. My mom still says she misses how close we used to be, but we were never close. I was useful. There's a difference. And the hardest part wasn't losing the money. It was realizing that the people calling me selfish had been spending years taking from me while teaching me to feel guilty for needing anything back. I still help people, but I don't empty myself to keep someone else comfortable anymore. Because the day I finally said no, I didn't lose my family. I found out what they had been hiding from me all along.